Welcome to another episode of Gray and I Slay. Today is our Valentine's Day special, and my guest today I have not seen in many, many years. I'm so excited. So get ready for laughter. You may get some tissue because you may be crying too. So just be ready because it's going to be awesome. I'm so excited. Remember, Gray and I Slay, we're all about aging and embracing aging. It's not a curse, it is a gift. Every day we wake up, it is a gift. So be thankful, give God thanks every day that we open up our eyes and that we're able to put our feet on the ground and walk without assistance. Hey, that's a blessing. So anyway, get ready and remember to go out there, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, because the more you hit that like button, this conversation will go to many, many people to hear how this couple have worked it out, made it together for over 40 years. So I'm excited about this. So get ready. My guests today are the incredible Fluellens. Jeff and Jen. Yes. You guys look amazing.
Well, thank you.
The ageless Fluellens. Ageless Fluellens.
Gray and Slay, right?
Gray and Slay.
Gray and Slay. That's right. You guys look amazing. I love it. So I'm just ready. So how many years you been together?
Over 40 now.
Over 40.
Yes.
Been married for 40 or just together for 40?
Together for
Together
40.
for 40.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's awesome. Awesome. So I just want to get started to talk about how did you guys meet? Because I know you were Worthington. Were you Worthington?
I was Worthington.
Okay.
Yeah,
So how did
this-
you guys meet?
I'll have to tell this story.
Okay.
So
His version.
His version. Okay.
yeah, so I went to college in Virginia for a year
Okay.
and a half, and I came back home, and I enrolled in Columbus State now, but it was CTI back then,
Yes.
Columbus Technical Institute. And so I was coming out of my class one day, and we had a little hall that me and my boys used to sit in. You know, we used to sit there when all the ladies would walk by. We
Okay.
kind of check them out.
Sound-
Yeah,
sound
we
like,
called it Hound Hall.
Yeah, sound like
As
high
we-
school. We
yeah,
called it
yeah.
Soul Hall. That's
Yeah,
what we called
you know.
ours. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it was. So I saw this young lady walk by, and I was like, "Dad, you know, who's that?" My boys were sitting there, and you know, guys were like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh," you know, every time a nice looking lady would walk by, and Jan didn't even look. She just kept walking. She had her head up. She paid no attention to us.
And you guys
And-
were making the ooh,
Oh,
all
I
the sounds,
was.
and you
I was just
It
looking.
was just you. Okay.
I was just looking now.
Okay, Jan. That's
But,
what Jan's version is.
yeah.
Okay.
But I admired what I saw.
Okay.
And I said, man, I like the way she carried herself. So the very next day, my class let out early. And Jan, her class was canceled, but she came to school anyway.
Okay.
And so I was with Levita Stokes, who's
Oh my God,
it's
wait.
my sister.
Wow.
Yes, and that's my girl. Shout out to
Yeah.
Ronnie and Levita.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told Levita, I said, well, I'll see you, sis. I'm gonna head on out here. And I saw Jan walking down the hall. And she was getting ready to go out the door. And it had rained like 15 days straight. And I said, man, I gotta come up with something, you know, just the opening. Opening is all I need.
Yeah.
Because you know I got a mouthpiece. So I said, excuse me, do you think it's gonna rain? And she looked at me and she's like, duh, it's rained for the last 15 days. What do you think? And that was the opening that I needed to get in.
That was
And
it.
long story short, we sat out there and we talked for probably what?
It was about 45 minutes to an hour.
45 minutes to an hour. Yes.
Had you seen him before?
No.
She never saw me.
Wow.
Yep.
Because I was at the point in my life, I'm like, look, God, don't send me any more Cracker Jacks. I want somebody who loves you first. If they can't love you first, then they don't know how to love a woman. So, and we any respecting female hated going down this hallway.
Yeah.
Because we called it Hound Hall because the guys always barked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then the stupid little girls, they would be like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, I didn't have time for
Yeah.
that. I was through with that.
Yeah.
So I kept it straight and kept it going. And then the next day when he came, I'm like, oh, brother, here comes another one. Because I really wasn't there anymore. And so he came with this Cracker Jack line, like, so you think it's going to rain? I'm like, duh.
It works.
So here we are 40 years later.
Yeah. But it was interesting for those 45 minutes what we talked about. Because neither one of us at that time, we were, brought up in the church, both of us. I grew up in an AME church. She grew up in a Baptist church. But we weren't at that point in our lives really sold out
Yeah.
to the point where we were really living for God in a consistent way. But for those 45 minutes, that's all we talked about.
Okay. But you
And-
wanted a godly man.
I wanted a godly man.
Okay.
And I wanted a godly woman.
Okay.
And I wanted a woman, and that the thing that caught my eye about her was the fact not only was she fine, but the fact that it didn't affect her by what the guys were saying. You know what I'm saying?
Calls.
The cat calls and all that. She kept her head up. She ignored it and she kept on walking. That's what caught my eye
Okay.
because I knew she was a quality woman,
Yeah.
and I was raised by a quality woman. So
So you knew one.
I
You
knew
saw
one.
it. Yeah.
And so we exchanged numbers. And at that time, I was working 2 jobs and going to school. And I would spend the nights before I would go to work talking to her on the phone. And as soon as I got off, I was on the phone with her. And I remember we went out for our first date. That was hilarious. We went to the movies, and you got to know Jan's mom. Jan's mom is a pastor.
Yes. I've met her
And
before.
she is no joke. And so when I came over to the house, she was already, to read
Slay
me.
you.
Oh, she was ready to slay me because she was like, "No, you're not coming in here. That's my daughter, and
Yeah.
Here comes some joker.
yeah, coming in here." So I knocked on the door and came in the house, and her mom had this look on her face. And I'm a man though, so I handled myself. And she was like, "I'm not for no mess. I just want to let you know." And I said, "Yes, ma'am."
Yes, ma'am.
I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Well, what's your name?" I said, "Jeff Llewellyn. Nice to meet you." Hey, where you go to church? Well, I go to St. John's AME Church in Worthington. How long you been going to church? Well, my whole life. Worthington? You from Worthington? Yes, ma'am. Oh. Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay, because I'm from Worthington. Now I can talk to
You
you.
can talk to my daughter. Right.
So anyway, that we went out. We went to had Chinese food, and then Jan act like she couldn't finish her meal, whatever.
Oh, I still don't always finish my
Yeah,
meal.
but I finish it for you. But and then we went to the movies, and I had my Capri, my car, and I was driving, and I had always liked instrumental music, and so I had an instrumental song playing
Like
in my
jazz
car.
playing.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so she looked at me and she said, "Do you ever put lyrics to music?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I do it all the time." And she thought, this dude's lying. You know what I mean? And so she called me on it. She was like,
Do it.
"Do it." So right there on the spot, I wrote a song for her and I sang it as I was driving to the music.
What? Okay.
Yes. And then I looked in her eyes. I said, "Got her."
That was it.
I was it.
So we knew each other for 2 weeks And then we knew that we were going to be together.
Oh,
my,
yeah.
after 2 weeks.
After
After
2
2
weeks. But
weeks.
we were only together for 6 months before we got married.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
6 months.
Okay.
And which is amazing because that's usually ingredient for disaster.
Mm,
Truly.
It really is. But I knew, both of us knew.
yeah.
You hear people talk about, you know, their soulmate and all that, and that this is their person, and this is the person they're going to spend the rest of their life with. Both of us have been through enough mess that I think we were both at a time in our lives
Thank God.
we really didn't want that. I had stopped going out partying, and I stopped drinking. I stopped all of that stuff, chasing women and all that. And I think that was a time of preparation for me
Okay.
in my life, because if the two of us would have met each other when we were in our mess,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
So really, I think we just kind of knew. And it was funny, back to my mother-in-law, I was going to take Jan to Georgia to my family reunion. And
Before we were married.
before we were married. And her mother said, "Oh, y'all going to Georgia?" Yes, ma'am. My family reunion, you know my family. She said, "I know nobody ain't going to no Georgia who ain't married." And I
Hey,
said,
mind you, we're both in our 20s,
yeah,
or
we were
early 20s.
20. So
Over 21. So, I mean, we could have done whatever we wanted to do anytime we wanted to do it. But, yeah,
you know, but out of respect. There we go.
Out of
see?
respect.
Out of respect. And so, you know, like I said, Jan and I, 6 months after we met, we got married. It was a small wedding.
Okay.
We got married at St. John's AME. My
Okay.
dad was my best man. My best friend from kindergarten was my other best man, and then her sister, and then my buddy's wife. And we didn't have much. We were just young, very young, and we didn't have a lot. We went to Kings Island for our honeymoon.
Because we both had to be back to work on Monday.
Yeah, we both
got
had
married
to,
on a
yeah,
Friday.
Got married on a Friday.
Okay.
It was hot as hell. It was.
Yeah.
It was in that church. That was the old St. John's where they didn't have air
No
conditioning.
air.
And so, you know, and we're both young, you know, and we were just like, I knew though,
But you had a dream.
I had a dream and this is what I wanted. And I mean, really, Jan and I talk about it now. We had nothing. I mean, money-wise, we had nothing. And I told her, I said, I got Poe. And she said, "What is Poe?" And I said, "Potential."
That's all we had.
That's
That's
all
what we
had.
worked with.
We
That
worked
is
with potential. And I
awesome.
told her
I love
that. I
that.
said, I got Poe. And one memory I have, and this is, I knew what kind of
As you
woman,
can see, he's the talker.
what kind of woman I was getting. My mother and I were very, very close. And when we were dating, and I remember I didn't have enough money to put in my car for gas to last me the rest of the week.
But he would spend all his money on me, make sure I ate, make sure we got to wherever
Yeah.
we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say anything to her. You know, I would just, she's like, "Why aren't you eating?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, I'm not hungry." You know, but I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And just enough for her. And I was raised, you know, you don't take from a woman. That's how I was raised by my father. You know, you take care of her. It's not her job to take care of you. And so one
Even
particular,
before marriage.
yes, one particular time, and I really didn't know how I was gonna be able to drive to work and school the rest of that week. And Jan and I had, you know, I dropped her off at home and I'd come back to my apartment and I looked in my pocket, put my hand in my pocket, and there was a $20 bill in there. And I was like, wait a minute. I said, I knew I didn't have $20. So I knew that wasn't mine. And I knew I'd only been with her.
Mm.
So I called my mother and I said, Mom, I said, Jan put $20 in my pocket. I know it was her. And my mother was like, well, did you need it? I said, yes, ma'am, but I can't take it. You and Dad raised me better
She
than
said
that.
you need it.
She said, you need it.
Yeah.
So I called Jan. I said, did you put $20 in my pocket?
You knew I had.
And she said, yeah, I did. She said, you needed it.
Mm.
And so I knew.
But how'd you know? You just knew.
Well, number one, we went out and he wouldn't eat.
Okay.
So he didn't have. And then I was looking at his tank and it was like maybe a quarter and he still had to get back and forth.
Okay.
Payday was Friday, but he spent his money on me.
You.
So he had to go a whole another week before another payday. So I put some gas in the tank and he had a hard time receiving. I'm like, dude, you needed it.
Yeah.
So and we've always, one thing, even when we were dating, we never had separate money.
Okay.
Never separate, this is yours, this is mine. It's always been, this is ours.
Yeah.
And I think, Susie, through some of the toughest times that we've ever faced, you know, we always had that, it's ours and it's us together
Yeah.
and we're gonna make it through. And I heard you talking about my brother over here who's filming us. Sometimes you get, you know, you hit from the side, but I knew just situation after situation, Jan was always had my back. You know, I can think of a time when we went through chapter 13 and we went through a bankruptcy. And what had happened was I was working for the juvenile detention center there. I was a juvenile corrections officer and I was in a car accident and I got ejected from the car and I couldn't work. I broke
They
both
actually
my
thought he
wrists.
was dead
They
when
thought
they
I was
found me.
dead. They found me I got hit right downtown because I was working downtown on Front Street and it was February 23rd. It was our youngest son's birthday. And the car T-boned me and I didn't have my seatbelt on and I was ejected. And it was a really bad snow and ice at that time. And I slid on the ice and then I was unconscious and they thought I was dead. And then they came, somebody saw me laying out there. Somebody was walking and they called the squad and they came and they took me to the hospital. Grant, I was at Grant Trauma within minutes.
But
And
that person, I don't know who they were.
no,
They picked up your phone and they called me because it said wife or something. And they're like, hey, he was in a bad accident. And I was like, who are you and where are you?
Yeah.
And they're like, we're right on the corner of Grant and Rich or something. So when I got there, the car was there and it was like total.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, where is he? And the police were still there. And they're like, oh, they took that guy to the hospital. So I went to the hospital and they took it. So I don't even know who this person was, but shout out to you, whoever you
Yeah.
were. So
yeah.
So the
but
car was bad. When you saw the car, it was
bad. It was
it
bad.
was gone. It was gone. Total. And I should have been killed.
It wasn't your time.
It was my time, but I couldn't work. And I gotten to the point where, you know, I had exhausted all my vacation, all my sick time. They even gave me family time, 12 more weeks, you know, trying to keep me to be able to save my job.
Yeah.
And Jan had to take care of me. You know, I couldn't even, because I had casts on both my hands. And I would just cry, you know, because I was like, I've always been a man. I've always taken care of my family. And I couldn't work. I couldn't even shower. You know what I mean? Jan had to shower me. I couldn't even, you know, do.
Dress yourself.
Yes.
For yourself.
And she did it.
Yeah.
And not only did she do that, but she was the director of a daycare center at that time. And she took a second job at Lowe's at night to help. with our income. And then I was battling, depression because I can't provide for my family. And I would be in the room, in darkness. And she would come home and open up the drapes, and she's like, "No, we're not going there." She's like, "We're not going there. No, you get up." She turned the lights on, and she was there. That whole time, never complained. Not that she had to work a second job, not the fact that she had to take care of me and the kids, and she continued to do this. And so we ended up having to file bankruptcy. So we did Chapter 13 so we wouldn't lose our house.
Yeah.
And I remember Huntington Bank. We had money in there, but we had a lease through Huntington on a vehicle that I got for Jan. So we did a voluntary repossession, and they took all the money that was in our account.
Your money?
They took her money.
They took our
The
money.
little bit of money we had, they took that.
Yeah, and it was because it went towards
To
Pay off the
pay.
Yeah.
car that we
Yeah,
had through them.
so
Okay.
and I remember nothing in our account. And I pulled into the driveway, and I was just crying. I was out in the driveway just bawling. And because I was like, Lord, how am I going to provide for my family? What am I going to do? Everything is gone. And Jan was watching me from our side door,
Okay.
our old house.
Yeah.
So she was watching me. And so about half an hour went by. She came outside. She knocked on the door. She said, "Okay, that's
Time
enough.
is up. Come on.
Come on,
Get out of here.
get out of here."
Yeah.
So
It's like
she
we've
said,
been here before.
"We've been here
We
before.
got out of it. We'll get out of it again.
We'll get out of it again."
So let's go.
And
God, Jan.
and God brought us out of that, So, I have to say, and it, this woman has been such a blessing to me. Throughout through sickness, dealing with sickness, through loss, through bankruptcy, through whatever. She's always had my back. And she's always encouraged me. People know my personality. They see me. They're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Jeff,
Yeah.
you're always," but what they don't
Happy
see
guy. Yeah.
is what she knows.
Mhm.
She knows all
Yeah.
my secrets. She knows all my pain. She knows all my hurts.
Yeah.
And she's always had my back.
Mhm.
And she's never put me out, tried to embarrass me, tried to dog me. She's never been like, "Why don't we have? Why don't we live? Why don't we
Yeah.
drive?"
Everybody
She's
else
never.
has. We don't. Yeah,
She
none of
never.
that. Wow.
She's always been like, "We're in our lane.
Mm.
This is our lane."
Mm.
And that's why
Mm.
I honor her. That's why I love her.
Yeah.
That's why I cherish her.
Mhm.
That's why I call her my girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's always been
She's
my
always been your
girlfriend.
girlfriend. That's true.
She's always been my girlfriend because
Yeah.
to me, calling her my girlfriend means when you dating somebody, you always have that spark,
Mhm.
and you always have that. You can't wait to see them.
Yeah.
You can't, and I can honestly say this: over 40 years, I still look forward to seeing my wife
Aw.
every day.
And you never faked it.
No,
None of
don't have
that.
to.
Don't
This,
have to.
do I get on her nerves sometimes? Yes.
Mhm.
Does she get on my nerves sometimes?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yes, you do. And but but the key to that is Jan came up with this saying years ago, when we were a younger couple, and we were arguing and we were disagreeing on something, and she looked at me. She said, "You know what, Jeff?" And I said, "What?" She said, "The bottom line is you ain't going nowhere, and I ain't going nowhere.
So get over
So
it.
get over it. We just gonna work it out."
That's beautiful.
And that's how it's
Wow.
been. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like, everything has been, roses and and chocolates float.
Yeah.
No, no. We've been through some tough
Yeah.
times. We've been through some tough things,
Mhm.
but we with the help of God and God's love and God's mercy and grace,
Mhm.
we've made it through every time.
That's awesome.
And
That's
you know,
awesome.
so and we know what our roles are. We
Mhm.
know
we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about roles. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
we know what our roles are.
So
you
but do
know.
you have like, I mean, do the roles fluctuate
Yes.
depending?
Yes.
Or they,
Yes.
Okay, talk about
Yes.
that, Jan.
So yes, the roles fluctuate because I'm not a shopper and I don't like to shop.
Okay.
And so the kids will always want him to go because I'm going to the store. We're going to get a pair of shoes. That's it. I know what shoes you're getting. We're going to get it. We get out. No, he is the one. He'll go in. He'll caress the shoes and let them try them more. He can shop, and I am the one. I will build it. So I'll go home and I can repair anything. My father was a brick mason and a plumber. So I was the one
Oh
that
my
followed
gosh.
him and watched him do everything and fix
Yeah.
everything. So I'll go home and I can fix anything.
You can.
And he doesn't have the patience for that. He'll
Okay.
forget it. He'll throw a hammer in a minute. So yeah, we know our roles, and they're not conventional because usually the woman is the one that's out there spending the
Yeah, that's
money
true.
shopping, and
That's
the
true.
husband is at home repairing. No,
Mhm.
yeah, so yeah,
The
we know our
meals,
roles.
the meals. Who's the cook? You're the cook.
Now he
Now
is,
okay.
but I mean, when the kids were coming up, because I was actually working inside the home,
Yeah.
and he was working outside the homes because I had a daycare center in the
Yeah.
house.
Mhm.
And then, so when he got home, I would try to have all the daycare people gone so I could be the wife and the mom and help with homework and everything else and get him ready and everybody else ready for the next day. So the roles change. So just because you're in one role right now, the roles definitely change. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what was it about Jeff that you saw that was like, he's the one?
He's
What-
fine.
Besides that, Jan, what?
I'm playing.
it was that. It was his sense of
The
humor.
sense of humor.
Not he's
That's what I
fine.
said, yeah.
He is fine. It's his sense of humor.
Okay.
And even that day that he stopped me, and I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Mhm.
But he was always easy to talk to. He's just personable. He's personable. He just always kept me in stitches. He always kept me laughing.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it's that guy.
So it wasn't like one thing so the 45-minute conversation, you just knew that
Well,
each
with that
other-
45-minute conversation, I heard him because he talks. So I heard through the lines the things that I wanted to hear.
Okay.
That he was very much into his family, that he was very much into church, even though we really weren't sold out.
Mhm.
So the things that he said between the lines is the things that I heard and the things that I was looking for.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I can work with this.
Mhm.
Is he going to be that one? I don't know yet, but he was the one right then.
Mhm.
But from that, in those 2 weeks, I got to know. I mean, I met his family. We met each other's family, and I knew this was the kind of person that I wanted our kids to grow up around. The things that he and his family did together, the things that me and my family didn't do, because they were more family oriented.
Okay.
My mom was extremely independent, and she worked outside the home, so she didn't do a lot of family building things.
Okay.
But his mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she was the kind of mom that I thought I kind of wanted as far as being at home, even though I'm not a stay-at-home person.
Absolutely.
I am not a stay-at-home person, but his mom did it and made it work. So yeah, so I mean, the things that he didn't say that I read between the lines,
Yeah.
I liked
You
it.
knew.
So I do.
Yeah. So it's not like anybody had to make the first move. So
Well,
wanted-
the first
who wanted
move
to
was a
take-
corny joke he said,
Okay.
but he said corny or not, it got you. So
Yeah. And she used to make fun of me too, Susie, because I was from Worthington.
And-
she would put her sister on the
and
phone.
he was from Worthington and I was inner city, so I was hood and he was a white boy. Very
Well,
proper.
he had
Very
that,
proper.
suburban
It's-
education.
Yeah, he was
gotcha.
very suburban,
Yeah.
and I was very urban. So.
Thomas
Word.
Worthington High School.
Thomas Worthington.
Yeah.
Worthington.
Whatever. Yeah.
So
So what's the one date that you guys can remember that will always be memorable for you two?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Actually, the date that he stopped me in the hall, that will always be memorable to me.
Okay.
I mean, because it changed the trajectory of where I thought I was going to go. Because I thought I was going to be in school, stay in school, do this, and this was going to be my life. I was praying for one thing, but I was working towards another because I was telling God, I want a man who loves you, but I wasn't looking for him. But then when he stopped me, it just changed my trajectory. I thought I was going to do this, and God, when you make plans, God
Yeah,
laughs. Yeah, so that's where that was.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What about you, Jeff?
Wow.
A
I
memorable
think-
date that you can remember, or is there something that you're?
I think really the first time, I told her that I loved her, and then she told me she loved me.
Mhm.
So that was probably, and that was 2 weeks in.
Oh my! You
Yeah.
guys
2
move
weeks.
fast.
Yeah, it was.
that was
And
God.
20
It was
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
And I don't
20-something.
recommend 2 weeks for
Yeah.
anybody.
No,
No.
and I don't recommend 6 months unless that's God telling you to do that, or
Okay.
because that's not our story, is not everybody's story.
Exactly.
So you've got to stay in your lane of
Mhm.
what's for you.
Right.
And like I said, for many people that would be a road to disaster,
Mhm.
because you know, but the way it worked out for us,
Mhm.
it was
Yeah.
for Jeff and Jan.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
you mentioned something. Do you guys counsel, or do you have other couples that you guys
Um,
talk to who are in similar situations? Or
Well, to answer that, Susie, like formally,
Mhm.
no,
Okay.
but on our jobs,
Okay.
and that's um, where I can say this truly. Everybody doesn't have a pulpit ministry.
Mm.
Your ministry, you got to have a ministry that God's placed you.
Mhm.
I'm not called to be in front of people preaching and pastoring a church. That's not me. But my ministry is my life
Yeah.
and my coworkers and the people I work with. I will share this with you on the job one day when I was working in the juvenile system, and there was a bunch of young men, young brothers that I was working with, and they were like kind of teasing me. They were like, "Man, Flu has never cheated on his wife, man. He's only been with his wife." And they were like, "What? You've only ever been with your wife? That's all you
Oh my
what?
God.
All these years you've been with her? This was probably about 15, 20 years ago."
Mhm.
And I was like, "No." And they were like, "Really, Flu?" I was like, "Yeah, man. How can you just be with the same woman, and not get, tired of her or wore out?" And I said, this just came to my mind. I was sitting there and I thought for a second, and I said, have y'all ever been to Hometown Buffet? And they were like, yeah. I said, well, what do you do when you go to the buffet? They said, well, you go in and you eat all you can eat. And I said, yeah. I said, there's a different variety there at Hometown Buffet, right? They got pizza, they got chicken, they got all these things there.
All those things.
All those things in there. And
Yeah.
I said, so what do you do? Well, I eat until I'm satisfied. I just eat and eat and eat. I said, okay. I said, now let me ask you a question. When you leave there, you're going to drive by McDonald's. Do you stop? No. Burger King. Do you stop? No.
Come on.
KFC.
Come on.
Do you stop? No.
Come on.
And I said, why? And they said, we're already full.
Come on.
I said, well, my wife is my hometown buffet. I said, I don't need to go to Burger King, KFC, or Wendy's or Taco Bell, because everything I need is already at home.
Mm.
Just
Wow.
simple.
Yeah.
Just simple. But that came to my mind at that very point.
Mhm.
And when you asked again about counseling, that to me is worth more than a counseling session.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because that's real life, and that's what it's It's there for. We're not perfect.
Mhm.
You know, we have battles, we have challenges,
And that's not easy.
and that's not easy.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
Mhm.
And it's not for the weak.
Mhm.
Marriage is not for the weak. It isn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to, just like you fought to get them, you have to fight to keep them.
That's good.
You can't just,
Good.
I got her now or she's got me now. No, you got to continue to fight to stay together.
Yeah.
If that's what you want,
That's what you want. You gotta want it.
you got to want it,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's it. If that's what you want.
That's good.
that's what you
And
want.
for me, the book by Stormy O. Martin, it's an old book, The Power of a Praying Wife. When he's getting on my nerves, the prayer was in that book. and there's also a book, Prayers That Availeth Much.
Yeah.
When I felt like I wasn't there or he wasn't there, I had to give it to God. I mean, God, you the one who gave him to me. I prayed for you to bring him to me, so here he is. So now you're going to tell me what to do, how to do, when to do. And I remember one time we were on a cruise, and I had my two books with me, The Power of a Praying Wife and Prayers That Availeth Much. And we met a young couple, and they're like, oh my God, you guys have been together this long, and how are you doing it? And I gave her my book, and my book had all my notes and everything. And I was like, it's not easy. I
They were
said,
getting a divorce
yeah,
after the cruise.
and I said, it's not easy.
Were they together?
Mhm,
were
but they were
there?
going to get a divorce.
They were
after.
yeah, and they're like, nah, we're not going to make it. And I said, you're not going to make it if you choose to. This is something that you have to get up to choose to do every day. You got to get up and choose what outfit you're going to put. You're going to get up and you
Choose
meet
each
this
other.
guy every morning. You're going to meet him and you're going to see what kind of attitude is. You know how you have to fluctuate. You have to be water and flow in that that direction. But it's something you have to choose to do every day. It is a job. It's not 50-50. People say marriage is 50-50. No, it's
it's
not.
not.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't. Because sometimes
Sometimes
it's 20.
Sometimes I don't have my 50%. And
Right.
sometimes I'm up, you're down, I'm down, you're up, and we're just fluctuating.
Yeah.
It's like a temperature control. You gauge that temperature and you just flow in it. But that book, The Power of a Praying Wife, and then when we had kids, The Power of a Praying Mother,
Yeah.
some of those things in that Power of the Praying Parent, I had to use on you a few times. But yes, so
What a
yeah.
beautiful example, though. You guys are not just to your community, your people you work with, people at your church, but your children.
Yeah,
They get to see you guys at your best and at your worst.
at our
Oh,
worst,
yeah.
definitely.
Absolutely.
And so, and now they're married, and they're
Yes.
like, so so what do they say to you guys about? Do they come to you guys for advice or?
You want me to tell them what my
Well-
dad told us?
Oh, well, go ahead, yeah.
Okay. So when Janice and I were dating, my dad, he met with the two of us and he said, Janice, he said, whatever goes on between you and Jeff, don't drag your parents in it. And Jeff, whatever's going on with you and Jan, don't bring me and your mother in it. Because the less people you have involved in
Your
your
mess.
mess, the easier it is for the two of you to work it out.
Yeah.
And so we gave that same advice to our grown kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about your mate.
Okay.
I don't
I don't want to hear the bad things about him.
because you know, as a parent, you're naturally going to gravitate towards your child.
That's right.
And you have, you know, now you're holding a grudge
Yes.
against,
Yes.
you know, your daughter-in-law, your son-in-law, and they've made up
Yeah.
and they're
You're
good.
still mad.
And
And
you
I'm
still
so mad because you didn't let
No,
me, you
so-
didn't let us work it out.
No, so we stay out of our
Yeah.
kids, you know, relationships, you know. But one thing I can say, my son-in-law, Sierra's husband, John, I love that boy.
And he's like
And-
your son.
Yeah, he
He
is.
is our
he
Just-
just-
On Mother's Day, I give his mother a Mother's Day card saying
Yeah.
thank you for my son.
Yeah.
So I
He's
love
just-
his mother. I
yeah.
love him. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But Sierra had kept telling him when he had asked her to marry him, she kept telling him, no, you're not ready, you know. And then finally she said yes, thank God. But John told me,
He
he
wasn't
said,
ready. Did she say why he wasn't ready, or she
well,
just?
she just said
make
she
the-
wanted what her parents
I was
had.
going to say that's okay.
That's
I
what she
wanted to
told
hear.
him.
Yeah.
And so John came to me and he told me, he said, Mr. Flew, he said, he calls me dad now, but back then he called me Mr. Flew. He said, Mr. Flew, he said, one reason why I want Sierra to be my wife and I want to marry her is because I see how you are with Miss Flew. And that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I want, you know, and that, to me, that's a blessing, you know, because, you know, people see through BS. You know what I mean? That I
That's
work
true.
with kids.
That's true. You can
I
see
work with
through it.
kids.
You know what's
Kids,
fake and what's
kids, and I tell people all the time, kids can see through BS. They know
what's real and what's
they
fake.
they know what's real and they know what's not real. You know, I had women on my job come up to me and say, you know, Mr. Flew, one thing I can say about you, and I can't say about a lot, you always bring up your wife and you always talk about your wife. And I remember a story about the wedding ring, your wedding ring. Your wedding ring can come on and off, but your wedding ring is not to show that you're married. Your wedding ring is to remind you that you're married.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't put yourself in a compromising position where you are gonna jack yourself up.
Yeah.
So I could take this off, but I'm still
But
married.
you're still married. That's right.
But when I look down and see that, I know I'm married.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And speaking on that one,
Oh,
he be
boy.
talking about the
Oh,
people on his job.
Here we go.
One of the nurses that used to be on his job, and for I'm not going to say names, but one of the nurses that worked on his job eventually came over to my job. We were in the same field, but he worked with kids and I worked with the adults.
Right.
And I don't know how the conversation got started, but it's like 4 or 5 women. We were in this one room and they're like, and this nurse said, your husband was always talking about you. Everybody loved your husband. Your husband this and your husband this. Everybody loved your husband. I wanted a man like your husband. I said, you're not ready for a man like my husband. And I said, I know there's a lot of women over there who was looking at my husband. I said, I know you were one of them too. And I said, but I wasn't threatened. I said, because I know where my husband goes every night.
Yeah.
And I said, not only do I know where he goes every night, I know where his heart is. And I said, I'm not threatened. And she said, I know. And I said, I know you know. And so, I mean,
You
in
use
that
some
way,
4-letter words.
in that
too.
way, for sake of being nice, and I'm not the nice
Right.
one. And I'm not the nice one. He's nicer than me. I'm not the nice
She
one.
was cussing, Susie.
And I was like, I was not threatened. So, hey.
She was cussing.
Oh my gosh.
Cussing
So
say.
yeah, but there have been several women who from his past who have come across, and I'm like, psh, I'm there and you're not.
Yeah.
So
They know. Wow. Ooh. Okay, so what advice would you give couples who are just starting out?
Oh man, be friends.
Ready to be engaged and
Be friends
that is
first.
so critical.
Be friends.
It's like Tim and Charlotte. They were best.
Yeah, best friends.
They were best
I
friends.
love
They
them.
grew. I know.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
middle school friends, high
Friends.
school
friends, love Tim and
Yeah.
Charlie. We watched them grow up
Watch them
Yes,
grow up
we did.
as
Yeah.
friends.
As friends.
Yes.
So yes, you do have to be friends, and you have to have glue. You have to have stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
You can't. Too many times now, people go into a relationship thinking of how we're going to get out. If this doesn't work, this is I'm leaving. If this doesn't work, I'm out. You can't go into a relationship saying I'm out.
I'm out.
If this happens, I'm ready to fight for it. I'm going to fight for it. I'm going, and people aren't ready to fight. Especially now, they see videos, instant this, instant that, fast food. No, it's not a fast food thing. You have to go in, fight for it. If this is what you want to fight for it. So yeah, you have to fight for it.
Divorce was not. You didn't go in with divorce being an option.
Oh, divorce was not an
Never
Never
option.
on the table.
It's not
No,
an
that's why I said, look, you're not gonna do anything about it, so get over it. So we can
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going anywhere.
you
You're not
ain't going over
Yeah.
it, so get over it.
I remember getting mad and then getting in my car and driving to Walmart and just sitting in the Walmart,
Not in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Just sitting there.
just sitting there.
Mhm.
And then I get myself together. Are you stupid? And go on home.
You know what you got at home.
Yeah, I know what I got
Exactly.
at home.
Yeah.
Just go on
But
back
I
home.
did that one time, and because I knew it was going to drive him crazy. Oh my God, where is she? Where is she? Where is she?
That was dirty.
Because I knew it was. He's like, oh my gosh, she's not home. He's calling all over the
Yeah.
world. Where is she? Where is she? And I'm sitting in the parking lot.
And that was before cell phones, right?
Oh,
Can't
yeah,
track.
we
can't-
did that.
Yes,
We
couldn't
did.
track
There
track
ain't no
nobody.
track.
Yeah,
No,
with no
no,
tracking.
no,
Just because I
360.
knew it was going to make him mad.
Yeah. She did. That was dirty.
Yeah,
dirty.
and giving it back to you. This is what I'm giving
Yeah.
it back to you.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
So, how important is God in your life now?
Oh, number one.
That's the most important. thing.
Yes.
Most important thing.
So, when did you
uh,
become sold out? Because at first you said when you first met,
Yeah.
your lives weren't sold out to God just
Mm-mm.
yet. So, when did that happen?
It was a process.
Definitely.
It was a process because I was really didn't realize how much I was seeking and searching for that relationship with
Yeah.
God, and I was looking for. I was Muslims had approached me. All different types of things were coming at me, and I was just
Mhm.
like, and that wasn't it until finally. I remember we had our first house, and there was a friend of mine that lived across the street, him and his wife, and this guy was over there ministering to them. And he came over and he talked with me.
Mhm.
And he was like, he was real cool. He was funny. He wasn't religious. He was just
Had a
talking about relationship.
Yeah.
And that clicked for me, relationship. I wasn't looking for a religion. I wasn't looking for being religious.
Mhm.
I was looking to have a relationship
Yeah.
with God. And I think at that point, I told Jan, I went to sleep and I woke up and I told her, I said, Jan, I said, I really believe God spoke to my heart that I need to get a relationship with him and serve him. And if we don't, everything that we think we have, you remember that? I said, everything that we think we have is going to be gone.
Mhm.
And she kind of looked at me like,
But that was because the
I
way I
was-
looked at you,
Yeah.
because before then he was talking to the Muslim people.
yeah,
And the Muslim was like, your wife needs to be seen and not heard, and she needs to be submissive, and your wife ain't submissive. I'm not that submissive person. I am not the one. I am not.
she wasn't hearing
I
that.
am not. Don't tell me to shut up and get in the back room. No, that's not
No.
me.
No.
Yeah.
So then when he came, everything we think we have, I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Mm.
So
But that was
but
that
was
it.
God. So then
That
we
was
started
it.
going to church. And
Yeah.
we started going to a church. We started going to World
We don't
Harvest.
have to name it. But
Okay.
We started going to a
A
church.
church. But that church was very helpful.
Instrumental.
It was instrumental in
Yeah.
us getting
Started.
and see and
And were you
We-
ready for a relationship? with
I
God?
was, I
Yeah,
was.
You were ready.
and see
Okay.
and we didn't recognize or acknowledge the void because we didn't really know we had a void.
Right.
Okay.
And then our cup just started getting full. And we started walking in what he was giving us the whole time that we really needed. But
Right.
yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So he is number one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always will be.
Yes.
Always.
It has to be.
Okay. So what about how do you handle? I don't know if you may have touched on this, like disagreements when they pop up. What do you guys
Oh,
do?
Man.
I know you say sometimes you have to leave the house.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
so-
have to
and
walk
sometimes just
away, fight it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
Because they're gonna pop up
oh
they
they
do.
do.
all the
They
time.
Oh, they
Yeah.
do. And you got to recognize who you're with.
Mhm.
And I know with Jan, you got to leave her alone. You know what I mean? You can't keep harping on something.
Okay. And did you learn this? or
Oh, I learned
Thank
it.
God he
Okay.
did.
Yeah, I learned it.
Okay.
I learned it because at first, when we were younger, I would try to, hey, but you got to see my point. You got to, you know, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't work with her.
That's not her style.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
no, it doesn't work with her. You just got to, and I've learned this.
Mhm.
And I just, you know, I'll get quiet.
Mhm.
You know, I'll say what I need to say, and I'll get quiet, and
Gotta
then
give her time to process.
give her
all.
time to process because she's like, you know,
He's very reactive. When things
Yeah.
happen, he's ready to react right now, and
Yeah.
I'm slow to move.
yeah,
Yeah.
she is
And
Lord.
sometimes he's like, I'm like, chill, let us just handle this.
Mhm.
And so he's very reactive, and I try to process things like, no,
Mhm.
we don't need to do that right now.
Mhm.
But we need to. They said no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it right now.
Because
And
they
so,
said,
yeah. So we balance each other out,
Yeah,
thank
we
God, because
do.
we have this thus far.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
when things come up that we need to process, we attack it both ways.
Yeah.
Because he's like, we got to do this now, and I'm like, no. Even like now, you get stupid stuff in the mail, and it's like, we're going to take your house if you don't do this, and he's like, oh my God, you're going to take. I said, baby, look at that. We don't even know who those people are.
Right.
Tell them do it.
Advertisement.
yeah. So
Fake,
yeah,
yeah.
so he's very reactive on things that are happening,
Mhm.
but we balance each other out.
Yeah,
He's the
we
yin
do.
and my yang, so
Yeah. So
and I'm
what's-
definitely that yang.
So
So
what's your love languages? And did it take a long time for you to learn
I love that.
each other's love language?
Go ahead, baby.
Go ahead. He's definitely physical touch. And he likes for me to be in his presence. He wants me to touch him all the time. I mean, we got a king size. First we had a queen size bed, and then we got a king size bed. But this king size bed, we start on, and it's not my side, his side, but he does have a side, but we don't have a middle. So the middle line is his starting point, and I'm on my half, but I'm on the fourth of my half. And he's all the way over to the point where he's just like hogging me. And
In
I
that
have to
big
get
bed.
up. I'll get up sometimes and walk all the way over to the other
Other
side. He'll
side.
wake up and he's still looking for me. So yeah, he's definitely physical
Physical
touch.
touch.
Jan is words of affirmation.
Okay.
She loves when I give her words
Words.
of
Okay.
affirmation.
Mhm.
Tell her how much I appreciate her.
Mhm.
I tell her how much I love her.
Yeah.
I tell her how much she means to me.
Okay.
You see her? That's
That's her.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
her. Yeah.
Now, did you guys, last night was Valentine's. Did you guys go out
Oh
last
yes.
night? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Is it something you can talk about where you went?
Yes.
Or...
Yeah, it's
You can
clean.
Talk about it.
We actually had planned for it because usually we don't go out on Valentine's Day just because it's so crazy out
Crazy, yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But we had already planned. So the
Yeah.
day before, we went and got tickets to a matinee. So we went to a matinee and watched.
Oh, the movie?
Captain America.
Yeah, Captain
that's
America.
right. Okay.
And then before that, we went and got
We
something
went
to
to
eat.
dinner.
Yeah, we went and got something to
Dinner.
eat. So we did it before the crowds got out there.
Okay.
So.
Just hung out. You know,
Uh-huh. Don't talk about those shots.
The flu shots.
Flu shots.
In fact,
Y'all
I have a tattoo, and so yearly when we go to our doctors and get a shot, and I usually have a different nurse, and on my arm I have a tattoo of a hypodermic needle, and it says flu shot. And they're like, do you hate the flu shot? Or I was like, I get nightly inoculations. They're like, what? They said, of a flu shot? I said, yes. I said, I'm never without my flu shot. They're like, huh?
And I have one
They're
as
like,
well.
And I said,
Make it make sense. What
I
does
said,
that
my
mean?
husband's name is Flu. They're like, okay. I said, yeah, he gives me a night. They're like, oh my God. And so, yeah, and he goes online and he's talking about all these flu
Oh,
shots.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
friends were like, I'm gonna have to give my wife a flu shot. They're like, he's like, no, you can't
give
get
her
flu
the flu
shots.
shot.
You
You're
can't
not
give her
a
a
flu.
That's right.
No,
You
you're not
can't do
too.
that.
So You know, you can't get flu shots. Only flus can get flu
Remember that
shots.
woman was like, I want a flu shot.
Like, yeah, you
No,
want me
you
to go from here?
Nah,
No, man. They can find
No
your own
flu shots
medicine.
here. So,
nah.
yes.
Oh, man, I have
Yeah.
one receiver.
Yeah.
So I have a tattoo that says flu shot.
That
And
is
they're like, oh my
hilarious.
God.
That is-
Mine is right there.
Then do you guys practice like weekly, monthly?
But practice flu shots?
No, no. Well, I know you guys don't need any practice on a flu shot. That is dating. You have date nights.
Oh,
Weekly,
yeah.
monthly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When the kids were young, we had disappeared for a week and a month, and thank God we had a whole community of young families around us.
Yeah.
Where we would take their kids or they would take our kids, so that we would all sow into each other's
Oh.
marriage.
Yeah.
So when the kids were younger, we would go out once. We would like leave the house for a weekend, because just because you get rid of the kids and you're in the house still has you. You're like, oh, the kids are gone. I can finally get some laundry done, or I can
Yeah.
finally paint that
We
wall.
need to get away from that.
Right.
Get away from each other.
Mhm.
Get away from the house. I mean, and then you could spend time with each other. And a couple times we went places where we couldn't even have a cell phone.
Right.
So all you had was each other to sew
Yeah.
into. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So now that you're empty nesters, do
Oh,
you
every day.
still-
every day.
but do you
Every
still
day.
do date nights?
Oh,
we still
yeah.
do
Away
date
from the-
nights.
away
Yes,
from the
away
house?
from the
Oh,
house.
away from the
Yes.
house.
Okay.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
You know, and
But like you
And-
said, the responsibilities are still at the home.
Yeah, it's still at the
They're
house.
still at the
Yeah.
house.
so you need to get away
Yeah.
from your house.
Yeah.
And Jan, one thing I credit her with too, is a lot of times, you know, couples will put their kids over their relationship. And
Mhm.
and I warn people of this. There's gonna come a time when your kids are gone.
Yeah.
Then what do you have?
Mhm.
You've invested
Mhm.
everything in your kids and nothing into each other.
Mhm.
So now you see it. A lot of couples end up getting divorced when their kids leave
Mhm.
because they're and not that you shouldn't invest in your children. That's not what I'm saying, but you should invest.
This
in
is
each
the number
other.
one relationship.
This is
Yeah,
number
that's
one.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is number
That's
one
right.
because when now they have their number ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what do you don't even want to be with that person
Exactly. It's
because
so
you haven't
true.
established
Right.
A
that
relationship.
that
yeah.
relationship
How many
with each other.
marriages have fallen apart, divorce, when the kids move out?
Yes.
And we have friends now they're now becoming empty nesters.
Mhm.
They're like, oh my God, what are we going to do with the kids are gone? We don't know what to do.
Please.
You better go love each other. Go
Yeah.
find
Right.
something to do.
Yeah.
Find
Find
something
some,
to do.
even if you got to go take a kickboxing class together or whatever, do
Travel,
something together,
do something.
travel. Yeah.
Work out.
Yeah.
Do
But
something.
yeah, and unfortunately, they have to go learn each other all over again because they didn't invest in
That
them
time.
Mhm.
while everything was going through. So
Yeah.
now they have to go learn that person all over. And sometimes they learn that they don't even like that person. But I'm like, that's your
Yeah.
fault. You should have sowed into your relationship in the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah. So how important is it for you guys to sow into other couples, either engaged couples, married couples? How important is that?
Oh, I think it's very important because
Okay.
it
You see
again like
somebody, a marriage struggling. Yeah.
yeah,
there you
it's
go.
just like that.
Yeah.
It reminds you
Mhm.
to stay on point.
Mm.
You know, when you're sharing with other people, you got to be on point. You know, yourself,
Yeah.
and so that helps you stay
Mhm.
focused. Is what because when you hold on to something and you don't share it, then nothing can come to you either.
Yeah.
You got to open up
Mhm.
to others
Yeah.
and be a blessing to other people.
That's right.
Be a blessing to others, and then God continues to bless you.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't even believe it's this late. I'm like, it's already after 11 o'clock.
Really?
I'm like, yeah. Doesn't even seem, people just started talking 20 minutes ago. But Jen, what about you? How important is that for you to sow?
It's always important for me to sow, but I try to let my lifestyle be my example.
Mm.
And when I'm at work, I'm always talking about my boyfriend. Oh, a girl, I hung out with my boyfriend. And one woman came up to me and they're like,
Aren't you
Miss
married?
Falon, I know you said something about your boyfriend, but don't you have a husband? I said, it depends on what day of the week it is. I said, because when this man is awesome and he's doing this, I said, no, he's my boyfriend. I said, I usually see my boyfriend every weekend. I said, Monday through Friday, it's my husband, and we got to pay the bills, we got to take care of the house, we got to do. And I said, but guess what? It's the same person. And I said, and he's always going to be my boyfriend. I said, my husband's still my boyfriend. Even after 40 years, they're like, how do you do that? And I'm like, because I want him to be.
Yeah.
And we work towards us being boyfriend and girlfriend. So he's still my boyfriend. So.
Yeah. 40 years. How did you guys? I mean, it's no magic trick. I know it's not.
God. It's
No
just
magic
God.
trick.
You know, in time, like we talked about on the phone this morning, Sue, time just goes.
Yes.
It doesn't wait. I look at pictures of us back, 4 decades ago, and then I look at pictures of us now, and it's just like, and we got grandkids, and
Yeah.
we got a granddaughter that's getting ready.
Grandbrats, I'm
Yeah,
like,
my
grandbrats.
grandbrats. One that's getting ready to graduate from high school this
Oh, my
year.
goodness.
And it's
Yeah.
just like, time doesn't wait on you, and I think you shouldn't waste that time that you have, because it's going to go quickly.
Yeah.
And tomorrow's not promised.
That's the
and
truth.
and Jan, it was funny, in our bedroom we have signs, different sayings all over our bedroom, above our bed, on the sides of our bed, just different things. And one of them says,
Always kiss me goodnight.
always kiss me goodnight.
So I woke up this morning. I was like, hey, you didn't kiss me goodnight last night. He said, yes, I did. I said, no, you didn't. But when I was getting ready for bed, he started chasing me. I was like, will you stop it? I was like, oh my God. And he said, I was chasing you. You wouldn't let me catch you. I was like, that was something different. But you did not kiss me. He said, well, let me kiss you now. And then the other side that's above her bed, it says, well, it's 2 of them, but one of them says, give it to God and go to sleep. Because
Yeah.
Jeff will worry.
Oh.
Jeff
Yeah.
will
Oh,
worry
my
about
God,
everything.
so good.
And I'm like, okay, can we think about it in the morning? He's like, but I can't sleep. I'm like, well, give it to God and let it go, because I'm going to sleep. I'm not going to let him disturb my
Rest.
sleep.
I know that's right.
And like, give it to God and go to sleep. But like,
Yeah.
if God can't handle it, then what you going to do?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want you to look into that camera. This is your
This
camera
one.
right
Hi,
here.
y'all.
And I want you to minister to you, Jeff, to men who are like engaged or thinking about, marriage, or, just want you, whatever's laid on your heart, just say, then you'll be next, Jan, to the women.
What I can say to the brothers is, find your person, the person that God has for you, because you are the one. The Bible says, a man who findeth a wife find a good thing. So you find her, and then you treat her the way that Christ treated the church. So you love her that way. Never put your hands on her unless it's in love and you're holding her. And always be transparent. Even in your weaknesses, be transparent with your mate. Let them know what you need, because they'll be the ones that are praying for you and encouraging you and lifting you up. And stay faithful. That's important. Stay faithful. Stay faithful to that person. And don't put any other woman before you put your wife.
Wow.
Your best friend should be your wife, not your coworker, not your homegirl. Your best friend should be your wife. So be blessed and stay in love.
Man, Jan.
So piggybacking on him, he said, when a man findeth a wife, he findeth a good thing. You have to be that good thing before he finds you. So give it to God. Start preparing yourself. If you want a man that's going to be with you, you got to be a woman that somebody can be with. You can't be that loudmouth, cantankerous woman that the man has to sit on the corner of the house with in Proverbs. You got to be that loving woman that he wants to come home to, somebody that he wants to build his life with. And I'm not saying you have to put yourself in a corner, because I don't stick myself in a corner so that he can grow, because we grow together.
Yeah.
So prepare yourself now to be that woman that one he wants to be with. So
Wow. Ooh, so good. I love this. You guys got to
it's
come
been
back.
it's that was quick.
That was quick. It's like 11:15, and it just does not 11:17. That's
Wow,
crazy.
that was
Time
quick.
flew.
It flew by.
It flew with the flu.
It flew
It flew with the
by.
flu.
So this was
So
amazing.
now we can go do a flu shot.
Mm.
No, no,
He says, "Oh yeah."
no,
It's like,
no. I'm just kidding.
It's
I'm just kidding.
hilarious.
Come down.
Oh my
I know you
God.
are.
Hilarious. But this has been. You guys gonna come back? Would you come back?
Oh, definitely. This was
Okay.
fun.
All
So
right,
yes,
we'll do it again.
definitely.
Next Valentine's Day.
Yes.
We'll
It's,
make
it's
it.
a
We'll
day.
make
Make it a date.
annual. Yeah,
We'll
make
make it a date.
Yeah, so. Yay! This was amazing. I tell you, I love these two. Like I said, haven't seen you.
We love
It's
you.
been so long.
So how many
Susan.
grandbabies?
Six.
Six.
Seven, girl.
Six.
Micah
Wow.
might.
No.
No.
Micah's not ready. No.
Ah, hilarious.
But we do
Your
need some more
family.
grandsons, y'all.
Yeah,
Get
we
it
just
together,
got
bring some
one.
grandsons.
Yeah.
Got too many granddaughters.
Mhm.
Need some
We
more.
have
Family is
one grandson.
So beautiful. Femme Tiffany.
Oh,
I love her.
She's
sweetheart.
so
I love
sweet.
her.
Yeah.
Tiffany is
That's
awesome.
Richard's daughter. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah, Tiffany
Yeah,
is
sweet.
awesome.
Everybody.
She's actually putting together a podcast on adult children parenting. their
Parenting your parents.
Parenting your parents.
Okay.
Because like us, we can't keep up with our passwords and how do you turn this on and what do you do next and so now she's working on a podcast where you
So-
parent your parents and
Mhm.
how to help them, making sure that their life insurance is together and
Yeah.
making sure that
Yeah.
the phone calls that they're getting, that they're not going to be swindled and that kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah,
I know
that's
that's
good.
right.
So a lot
That's
of people,
that's
they do
needed.
need to parent the
It's
parents.
needed.
So
Mhm.
yeah. So
Yeah. That's awesome.
Tiffany is very creative. She's
Yeah,
always
I
doing
love
something.
Extremely
So, yeah.
creative.
Yeah. And just a beautiful, beautiful family.
Yeah.
They are.
Love you guys.
Love
always
you
will
too.
love you
Thank
guys.
you.
Even though I haven't
You know,
seen you and
you
talked,
know,
but
we've
still,
been brother
you
and
know.
sister since
Yes.
day
Since Huey
one.
Road. When I
Huey
walked in,
Road,
yes, when I
yes.
walked into Huey Road, it's
and
like,
I drove that Jeep.
yeah.
Susie,
Yes, I love that Jeep. We would go
Jeep
to the
story.
drive-thru.
That
We
Jeep
would go to the
story,
drive-in
yeah.
in the Jeep. Remember we went to the drive-in with
Yeah.
with the kids? So yes.
Hilarious. We go back.
we go
back.
way
We
back.
got like four
Yes.
Like,
flats.
like
Yeah.
four flats.
We
Right.
got-
Well, I know you guys enjoyed this episode
Yeah,
as much
it
as
was-
I
it was a
did.
blessing.
So yeah.
When
So-
you reached out, Susie, I was like, I told
and it's
Jan,
funny
said,
because
we
I
need to
told
do it.
Tim because I was looking going
Mm-hmm.
through my Rolodex in my mind like who can I get and this one morning I woke up and I'm like yeah Jeff and Jen I said okay
Sounds like a
right now
podcast.
yeah right I text right away and it took a few minutes for him to respond back but he was like yes and
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like oh my God
Yeah,
so I gave
absolutely.
you
I told Jen. I said
Yeah.
immediately. I was like,
Jen was like a podcast.
I was like, a podcast?
Yeah.
How do you do a podcast? Like, what do we
See,
do in a
there you go.
podcast? So
Now you know. Now
you
you're
just
pro.
sit here and be
There you
friends
go.
and talk.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, all right, guys. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
And yeah, if you have any questions, comments, put them in the comments. And if there's anything for the couple, I will make sure that they get it and can respond back to you. But please make a comment, like it, so the other couples out there can hear this wonderful couple, how they've made it for 40 plus years. So have an amazing day. And I'll be back with you guys soon. Don't forget to subscribe. Love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
bye bye.